as clearly as possible so you can understand all of it, but also try and get through as many questions as possible, because you might be stuck on a specific question. A lot of these are word problems, so I'll have to go through all of them, but these ones, these first few, might be quite simple. I might be able to just show you one or two of them. So if we get started, as you know, when you're adding long addition, you add the top to the bottom and you get a number down here, which will be 11. You always carry the 1, or carry the leftmost digit, put it up here, and then you add all three of these. So 1 plus 3 plus 6 is going to be 10. When you get a 2-digit number and it's all the way at the end, you put the whole number in. Now 3 plus 6 is not going to be 101. You have to remember the decimal point. That is because when you're adding, as I'll show you in this question, you have to line up the decimal points before you can add them. So with normal 12 plus 9, you can do that normally. But when you're doing 12.8 plus 9.0, you have to make sure the decimal points line up. 9 is basically just equal to 9.0, as 12.8 is also equal to 12.80. So if there isn't enough decimal points in your number, just add a 0 at the end, and then you'll be able to line up the decimal points. And then you can continue to add normally. Put the decimal point down. 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. Hopefully you guys all know this already. And I'm just going to quickly do this final one. 23.2, 38.5. Decimal points are lined up. 7. 3 plus 8 is 11. 2 plus 3 plus 1 is 6. And there you go, that's your answer. Exact same thing for this. Line up the decimal points, then do your usual subtraction. I'm going to show you a quicker method because I'm sure you all know how to do this. What you can do is just look for the difference between 6.6 and 8.3. And what you'll be able to see quite quickly is if you add 0.4 to 6.6, you're going to get 7. And if you add 1.3 to that, you're going to get 8.3. So if you just use these two numbers, these are the numbers that you found in the difference, put them together, you get the answer 1.7, and that's going to be your difference. Again, if it's too difficult, just do this method. And again here, you can see the difference between 9. How do you get from 9 to 13.7? If you add 4, you're going to get to 13. If you add 0.7, you're going to get to 13.7. So your answer is going to be 4.7. So you do it a lot quicker than doing this. If you get into the habit of doing that, it's great. Just make sure you don't make mistakes. So always be careful. Again, with this one, good way to look at it is you want to find something that will make the decimal points the same. So if you add 0.4 to it, you're going to get, if you add 0.4 to this number, right, you're going to get 10.9. Now all you have to do is get from 10.9 to 29.9. You add 19, if you can see the difference, right? And then the two numbers that you've added is 19 and 0.4, so that's going to be the answer, 19.4. I'm hoping this is not too complicated. I know I'm showing a different method, but always go back and use this when you're struggling. Okay, let's get into the multiplication. Anyone who doesn't know multiplication, I'm just going to go through it quickly. Use the bottom right number, times it by the top right, then times it by the one next to it, then times it by the one next to it. So what we're going to do first, 6 times 8. And that is going to be 48. carry the 4. 6 times 2, 12, add the 4. 16. 6 times 3, 18, add the 1, 19. Again, when you have a 2-digit number and it's the final number, just put the full number in. I think you would already know this. Now, 1968, much too big for this multiplication number, so we have to remember to put in the decimal point. How you figure out where the decimal point goes is you look at where the top number is. How many numbers are behind the decimal point? There's only one here, so there's only one. There you go, 196.8. Same thing here. If you look, there's going to be 2 decimal points. It's 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So our answer is going to be the same. 2 numbers behind the decimal point. Do normal multiplication, you're going to get 6. 3 times 7, 21. 3 times 6 is 18, 20. Where's the decimal point going to go? 2 numbers. Always remember, it's the same, like this. 20.16. 2 times 6, 12. 2 times 8, 16. Sorry, remember to carry the 1. 16, 17. There you go. 2 times 4, 8 plus 1 is 9. Now, 1 character behind the decimal point, 1. That's your answer. Now, go on to here. Again, 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4, 28 plus the 2 is 30. 7 times 6, 42 plus the 3 is 45. 2 numbers behind the decimal point, 2 numbers behind the decimal point. I think you're getting the idea. And I'm going to assume you know how to do these ones, and I'm going to go straight on to these, because exact same principle, just multiply like this. And make sure there's 2, right? Okay. Now, write the quotient for each division problem. This just means to write the result. Okay. When you divide something by 10, there's a simple thing that you can do that you would do with any number. So I'm going to give a few numbers here. If you divide any of these by 10, you just move the decimal point 1 time to the left, and you might think, oh, so now it's 0.25. Where's the, well, it looks a bit weird, right? You put a 0. You always backfill with a 0. So that is the answer to a division by 10. Now, what's the answer to this going to be? Move it to the 0.25 as we just done. I'm just going to go through a few of these ones, even though it's not showing yet. Like I showed above. Did I show it above? Yes, I did. If you remember, 9.0 is the same as 9. So 4,500 is the same as 4,500.0. This is where it comes in useful. You move the decimal place 1 to the left. It's now going to equal 450.00, which is still just 450. It'll be the same with this. You move it to the left. This equals now 28. If you move this to the left, equals 29.5. And obviously you can keep the 0, but it's basically just 29.5. So if we just go through these, this time It's dividing by 100. You just move it 2 places to the left. So 0.025 by 1,000, 3 places to the left. 0.0025. And if you see, a quick way to do it is just look at the number of zeros. That's how many places you move it to the left. So this time there's 4 zeros here, move it to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0.00025. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's hard to visualize, right? Because at this point, let me just draw it out again. Question 19. What you're doing is you're going back quite a few times, right? You know the decimal point goes here. You have to fill in a 0 here. And then with this question, it's going back 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, fill in the zeros. You see the loops? Fill in the zeros. One more 0. There you go. 0.00405. Remove this. So 0.0405. 0.00405. I think you all got this right. We're going to move on. And I think I'm going a bit too fast, so I'll slow down a bit. So it says, right, so use a greater than or less than sign or an equal to sign to compare these numbers. So it's asking you to compare this number and this number. Now, this is pretty simple to look at. Which number is bigger, 1 or 5? 5 is bigger. The crocodile will always eat the bigger number. This is a crocodile, and it's eating the bigger number. These two numbers are the same, so obviously it's going to be equals. Which one is bigger, 5 or 2? It's the 5. The crocodile's going to eat the 5. There you go. That's a less. That's a less than symbol. These two are the same. You can make them equal. 7 is bigger than 4. Now this one might confuse a few people. So be careful. But when the first two digits are the same, look at the decimal points. Which number is bigger, 47 or 91? 91 is bigger, so we're going to eat this number. It's bigger. Again, I think you guys got this all right. If you didn't, bring it to a lesson and show me. Okay, again, these ones now. Find the result to these answers. These ones are a bit longer, a bit more difficult. And some people might not know how to do the bus stop method just yet, so I'm going to explain it as well as I can. So, when you're doing a bus stop, what this actually means is 2.48 divided by 4. That's what it converts to down here. And sorry, so I mean, these are the same things. 2.48 divided by 4 is that. Okay. So what we want to do, how many times does 4 go into 2? Always start off with the one number. Now ask how many times does it go in. 4 does not go into 2 at all, basically. 4 times 1 is 4, that's bigger than 2. 4 times 2 is 8, it's bigger than 2. Too big. what can we do? We can put 0. 4 times 0 is 0. Whenever you put a 0 at the top of the bus stop, you have to put a decimal point. Next. What that allows you to do is now ask how many times does 4 go into 24 instead of just 2. And we can actually make that division. How many times does 4 go into 24? It goes in 6 times. Bosh. 6 goes at the top. 24 minus 24 is equal to 0. And then we bring down the 8. And now we ask how many times does 4 go into this number? 4 into 8. How many times does 4 go into 8? If you add 4 to 4, you get 8. So 4 times 2 is equal to 8. You put that at the top. 0.62. And that is your answer, obviously. But most of you will know, during normal division, when 3 doesn't go into this number, we'll just make it to the next 2 digits, right? The only reason we can't do that here is because there's a decimal point. The number is only 2. So when 4 doesn't go into 2, we have to put a 0 and put a point, because we can't make it 24 unless we have a point. Here though, 3 doesn't go into 1. We can make 3 go into 19 because there isn't a point here. But if, let's say, 3 didn't go into 19 and we had to ask it if it went into 195, we couldn't do that until we did a 0 point, right? So does 3 go into 1? Nope. So that's when you ask, does 3 go into 19? You don't have to put a 0 just yet. Does 3 go into 19? Yes. 6 times, what do you get? It's 3 times 6 is 18. Minus it, you get 1. Now, if there's a decimal point here, put a decimal point here. Then you bring down the 5. How many times does 3 go into 15? 5. You see, you have to mirror this, right? Let's go on to question 29. How many times does 6 go into 1? It doesn't. So how many times does 6 go into 15? 2. 6 times 2 is 12. You put that down here. How many times is 15? Minus 15 from 12 and you get 3. Now we've come across a decimal point. When you've come across a decimal point, you have to put 1 up here as well. And we can just carry on as normal. Bring the 8 down. And in terms of 6, go into 38. Believe it will be 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. What's the answer to this? 2. We can bring down the 4. How many times does 6 go into 24? 4 times. Well, 6 times 4 is 24. There's no remainder. That's your answer. 2.64. And I'm going to do all of these again. Question 30. How many times does 7 go into 3? It doesn't, right? And then we have to ask, what we'd usually ask is how many times does 7 go into 36? We can't do that because there's a decimal point. This number is 3.6, it's not 36. So what we have to do is put a 0, put a dot. Now we can ask how many times does 7 go into 36. How many times does 7 go into 36? You do 4. 7 times 4 is 5. 7 times 5 is 35, and you can just do normal, ignoring the decimal point now, right? 36, 35, 1. Bring down to 7. How many times does 7 go into 17? Twice. 7 times 2 is 14, and you get 3. Bring down to 5. How many times 7 go into 35? 5. And the remainder is 0. And there is your answer. And let's do this again. Again, this time it's a bit different, because look, how many times does 2 go into 1? It doesn't. But we don't do a 0, because we can go, how many times does 2 go into 14? Because it isn't a decimal point yet, right? So how many times does 2 go into 14? 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. And you get the answer at 0. Bring down 7. 2. How many times does 2 go into 7? It will be 3. 2 times 3 is 6. If you minus, you get 1. And now again, so the reason why we have to put a decimal point up here when we meet this is because it's not asking how many times does 2 go into 6. It's asking how many times does 2 go into 0.6. And without getting into the details of it, just copy the decimal point, put them, make sure that they're above each other, and then we can just do it normally. How many times does 2 go into 6? It's 3. Yeah, my bad. We have to bring the 6 down, right? And we've copied the decimal place up, and we asked how many times does 2 go into 16? It's 8. And the answer is 2 times 8 is 16. The remainder is 0. There we go, 73.8. That is your answer. I'm very thirsty. Okay, it takes 16.4 meters to make a pair of curtains. How many meters of fabric is needed to make 8 pairs of curtains? So if we imagine 2 curtains, take 16.4 meters to make this, and then we need 8 more of these, right? So how many do you think is going to, how much are we going to need for one more of this? Another 16.4. How many are you going to need for one more? Another 16.4. So that's for 3 pairs of curtains. It's 16.4 times 3, as you can see. So for 8 curtains, it's going to be 16.4 times 8, which you can do as you were doing before. And as usual, you do 8 times 4, which is going to be 32. Don't carry the 3. 8 times 6. 48. Add the 3. 51. 8 times 1 plus 5. It's going to be 13. And the answer is not going to be that big. Always remember, there's one decimal point. There's one number behind the decimal point. So that's going to be the answer. 131.2. Remember the meter symbol. So 131.2 meters. Bosh. Let me just rub that out so we can move on to the next question. Oh no. Sorry, give me one moment. Yep, let's go. 33. Sam earns £12.6 for doing Saturday morning paper round. How much is he going to earn after 4 weeks? Well, how many Saturdays are there in 4 weeks? Only 4. How much does he earn every Saturday? 12.6. So what you could do is add 12.6, add 12.6, add 12.6, add 12.6, which is 4 12.6s. Or you could just times it by 4, which is going to equal 50.4. But if you do that with long multiplication, same way as we just done it up here, you're going to get the same result. And that's going to be your answer. So a house, 25.5 meters wide. 6 houses are built in a row. What's going to be the width of all 6 houses? They haven't said there's going to be a gap between the houses, right? Because they're terraced houses. So if 1 is 25.5, 6 is just going to be 25.5 times 6. And again, if you times that, 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 5 is, again, it'll be 30, but this time you add the 3. 6 times 2 is 12, add the 3, 15. One digit behind the decimal point. 1 digit behind the decimal point. So it's going to be 153.0 meters. You can always just put in 153 to the online answer sheet. Now, let's move on. So question 35. 2 planks of wood measure 133 centimeters and 327 centimeters. Laid end to end. So, imagine the wood. This one is 133 centimeters. This one's 327 centimeters. What's the total length? Obviously going to add them. How do you add? You do it like that. Bosh. 7 plus 3, 10. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1, 6. 1 plus 3, 4. 460 centimeters. Now, what if they ask you about this? 191 parents, 216 children, all went to a concert. How many people in the hall? Children and parents are both people, so we just add them. You can always do it like this, or what you could do is take the last 2 digits, add them together in your head. 16 plus 91 is going to be 107, and then you can add these ones as well. What's 200 plus 100? That's 300. And that's a lot easier to just figure out in your head. 407. That's the answer. If that's too complicated, just do it like this. 98 men, 265 women visited a local gym. How many more women went to the gym than men? So what you want to figure out is the difference between these two. You can obviously count up 99, 100, 101 until you get to 265, or you could just do subtraction like that. Or you could do what I'd like to do, is count up until you get to 165. So that would be 67. That's the difference here. Right, 67. If you understand that, let me just explain it. If you add 2 to 98, you get 100. If you add 65 to 100, you get 165. If you add 100 to 165, you get 265. And all you have to do is add all of these up together, and you get 167. Sorry, 167 is a difference, and that's going to be that's going to be how many more women went to the gym. That's going to be your answer. Always do long subtraction if you don't know how to do that. And if you don't know how to do long subtraction, take it to a teacher in class and they'll explain it to you. But I don't really like long subtraction. I like doing it this way. So let's go do this. Mr. Farr is 300 centimeters piece of wood, saws off 172 centimeters. What is the length of the remaining piece? If your wood is 300 and he cuts off this much, what's going to be left is 172 less of 300. So again, do long subtraction, bosh, or you just find the difference, which, as you do, how do you get from 172 to 200? You add 18, so you add 28. How do you get from 200 to 300? You add 100. So the difference is 128. That's gonna be your answer, whether you do it this way or that way. Tickets for school concerts cost £10. School sold £6,210 worth of tickets. So now they're asking you is how many £10 fit into 6,210. because each ticket costs £10 and they've sold 6,210 worth. So we have to figure out how many tens go into that. And as we did above, when you do that, all you have to do, move the decimal point back, like we showed you in one of the previous questions. Whenever you divide it by 10, move the decimal point back. So move it back, and you get 621.00. That's the same thing. It's just £621. So 621 tickets, and that's going to be B. Jake has a plank of wood that is 500 centimeters long. Cuts the plank of wood into 10 equal pieces. So wood, 500 centimeters. And he's cut it into 10 pieces like this, right? Each piece is going to be an equal length, right? So it's equal. So again, it's how many times does 10 go into 500? Do you remember? Move the decimal point back. And what you're going to get is 50.00, which is just 50. And there you go, 50 centimeters. Just to explain that a bit further. If each new piece, which is he's cut into 10, 50 centimeters, and you have 10 of those 50 centimeters, the whole thing is 500 centimeters, which is what they just told us up here, right? So that's the way you can check your answers, is if you times it again by the number of pieces, and you get what the final length is, that means you've got the answer right. What is the total cost of 3 DVDs? That costs 99p each. You can just add them up, 3 99s, or you could times it by 3. Either way, what you're going to get is 3 times 9 is equal to 27. 3 times 9 is 27, 29. That is 3 times 99. So what is that? 297 pence, right? So don't enter this in. It's not that. Convert that to pounds. You always put a dot, right? 297 pence. You divide it by 100. 1, 2. It's £2.97. C. Hospital orders 30 boxes of bandages. Each box contains 7 bandages. How many bandages does the hospital order? Circle the correct answer. 30 boxes. Each box has 7 in it. If we had 2 boxes, which each had 7, it would be 2 times 7, which equals 14. So if we do 30 times 7, same thing. 7 times 3, 21. There you go, 210 bandages. A. A postman drives 8 kilometers each day. He works 23 days of each month. How many kilometers does he drive each month? So this month bit is pretty irrelevant, right? All you need to know is that he's driving 8 kilometers each day, and he does that 23 days. For 23 days. So if he's 8 each day, you just times it by 23. And as you do it like this, you're going to get 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 2 is 18. 184 kilometers. I think when you're uploading it to the online answer sheet, it doesn't matter if you put the units in or not. So 68 divided by 9. the remainder is 5, right? Question 44. What is the missing number in this calculation? I showed this above. When they do this, you put the right number on the left side of the bus stop. It's waiting for the bus. 68 goes on the right side. It is the bus. Now, if you know how to do long division, you're going to know how to do this. If you don't, that's probably why you're here. Let me show you. How many times does 9 go into 6? It doesn't. 0 times, right? Whenever you put 0, you have to put a decimal point. When you do that, that means you can ask how many times does 9 go into 68 now, instead of asking about 6, right? 9 goes into 68 7 times. What's 9 times 7? 64. Now you have to minus it. You get 4. And what you'd usually do is you'd use the number that will be around here, and you'd bring that down, and then you'd ask how many times does 9 go into that, right? But you can't, because there isn't a spare number here. That means 4 is the remainder. Sorry, 9 times 7 is 63. Wait, what? There you go. 63. That means 5 is the remainder. And that's going to be your answer. That's going to be the remainder. 5 is the remainder. The answer is 0.7. Good job. Sorry, let me rub this out. Okay. Phoebe, 79 coins in her coin collection. She places all of the coins in an album. Each page of the album holds 7 coins. How many pages will she need to fit all 79? There's a lot of words here, right? So she has 79 coins, and she can only put 7 coins per page. So you can always count up, if you want, how many pages it'll be. Imagine that, that's 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, until you get to 79. Or you could just ask the question, how many times does 7 go into 79? Sorry. And you can figure that out with your times tables, right? Or you could do long division, like this. 7 into 7, 1. 7, 0. Bring down the 9. How many times does 7 go into 9? Once again. This time, there's a remainder of 2. So you can, it goes into 7, 11, right? There's a remainder of 2 coins. So you see, there are 77 coins fitting in 11 pages. Then there's 2 coins left. Where are the 2 coins going to go? They're just going to go in the next page. Even though the next page is not going to be full, we're going to need an extra page. So that means 12 pages. There you go. That is your answer. Let's go into the last math question of today. June has 39 brownies. She divides all the brownies equally between 4 boxes, but she has some left over. How many brownies does she have left over? Again, there are 4 boxes, right? What you can do is put in 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, and you can keep doing that until you get to 39. But obviously it's quicker to just do how many times does 4 go into 39. And that's the same as asking 4 divided by 39. So, How many times does 4 go into 39? Six. No, not 6. 9, sorry. That gives you 36 with a remainder of 3. And usually, what you'd do, if there's a number around here, you'd bring it down and you'd carry on the division. But there isn't, so that means the remainder is 3. So basically, what that means is each of the 4 boxes will have 9 brownies each to make 36 brownies being used overall. And now there are 3 brownies left over. And what we have to do is obviously put the brownies in as equally as we can. Oh, no, that's not what they're asking. They're just asking how many are left over. So that means it's just 3, which is C. And as, yeah.